and talk about the Toffees, because UEFA, of course, confirmed as well that Manchester United and Nice can both play in the Europa League. Is that then positive news for the Friedkin Group and the Everton takeover? What repercussions or implications could that have on this takeover?
Well, we're talking quite a leap yet, as I say, for Roma and Everton to be playing in the Champions League together. Certainly for Everton at the moment, it would be quite a leap. But it could well be, Europa League or other European competitions. So it's something that has to be faced. The fudge that UEFA have come up with, and I do think it is a fudge, is that you've got to put the shares into a blind trust. And I saw it's being administered by apparently a law firm in Cheltenham, if I'm correct, which is very bizarre. And I did some research on the law firm. I can see no great football knowledge or experience. Anyway, I need to dig further into that because it was a very bizarre situation. But the idea being that if you can't have any say on the actual decisions being taken during that period of time when both clubs are in that competition. Now, in theory, that sounds fine, but we all know in reality, you can get messages to people, you can find ways around that. And, I'm not calling into question the integrity of the law firm in Cheltenham. I am saying that, things can be done through players and agents in different ways, and messages can be given. I've seen it done before. And it just doesn't seem as though it's a very clear distinction. I think it would have made much more sense for UEFA to have actually banned one of the clubs from the competition and made them choose. And, whether it's Man City and Girona, and Man United and Nice, one of them would have had to step down a competition. And I think that would have been the real message that should have been sent. And I do think it's a fudge. But nevertheless, talking about your question with Everton and Roma, it certainly helps. It provides a clear pathway forward for those two clubs, even though I don't agree with the overall decision.
And if they do then play each other, Keith, in a hypothetical world, let's say that Everton do get to the Champions League and they're taking on Roma, how and what implications will that have? And do those whispers then begin about owners sort of having influence on who needs to win for revenue, etc.? Will that have a real impact, do you think, on those games?
Yeah, I think it does around the periphery. And, even if it isn't happening, people will start those rumours. And that's what I think is damaging. And that's why I think UEFA should have been tougher and harder on this. They should have made it very clear. And I think it would also give them guidance around the whole multi-club question if they were much stronger on this. But they haven't done it. And I say we've got this fudge now, which opens up all sorts of potential rumours, innuendo, and even realistic action between both clubs. And as I say, and players talking. And you can't possibly, although key decisions about transferring players may be one thing, you can't stop players potentially leaking formations or injury information, that sort of stuff. They all speak. And so that's what I think is wrong with the whole decision from UEFA. But it does seem to be them bowing down to the power of the bigger clubs, which again is a worrying situation.
There were some reports, Keith, that the Friedkin Group are paying Moshiri far less than what 777 partners were paying to purchase Everton. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think the reason really for that is because of the ongoing turmoil that happened between Moshiri and 777?
I haven't seen those reports, but certainly I would imagine that when you're a real buyer with real money, which I don't think 777 were, then I think you're going to be, treated more kindly and more differently by Moshiri, because he knows whatever he's offered, he's going to get. So it's like, you might get 100% of nothing from 777. So there was no real value in what they were offering, because they were never going to be able to fulfill the promises they made, and that was proven. So it's difficult. Look, Friedkin's a very serious buyer. All the signs so far have been very positive. He's been very quiet, which I like, because, as I say, actions speak louder than words in these situations. And it's all about focusing on getting this due diligence done, getting the whole thing sorted out, and getting into a place of power to be able to dictate. And I believe that they're not far away from completing due diligence, is my understanding. And then we've got the Premier League thing to handle. So things are going along reasonably smoothly, as far as I'm told. So it's all good news so far. But look, Moshiri's got to accept whatever. He's done the right thing, put it this way. He's handed it over at last to a good owner. And that's what it seems to be. So he's made the right decision. He can now hand it over with a superb stadium coming to the end now as well, at the end of this year. So Moshiri can now hold his head up and say, okay, I did make some mistakes, but look, I've given you a great stadium and you've now got a good owner. So he's getting out of it as best as he can. In terms of the financial side, what he gets, as I say, he's going to have to take whatever he's offered from a good owner, really, if that's going to be a key factor for him. And potentially, I think there may be bonuses in the deal that, once the stadium's completed, could be one bonus. Everton stays in the Premier League for the next 2 seasons, could be another bonus. Those sort of things could be there. So while there may be a smaller amount short term, longer term, Mashiri may be able to claw back, some of his investment, which unfortunately was wasted in many ways.
And in terms of transfer news, Keith, it looks like Jaden Philogene from Hull City is on his way to Goodison Park for about £16 million. How excited are you by that deal, given sort of the valuation, the excitement of the player? What's the feeling amongst Evertonians with this potential signing?
Yeah, look, I think the wing position is something they've all been keen to look at. 16 plus add-ons to 20 is what I'm hearing. But I've got something nagging in my head about this, that I think Crystal Palace are going to come in at the last minute and try and steal him. Given the way that they've sold their players in those sort of positions as well, I think Palace may be a threat. And a lot of these deals aren't done until they're done. I've been there before when I've seen players having medicals and suddenly the agent gets a call and the player disappears and you never see him again. Or players on their way to the ground and suddenly at the service station, they take a different route and go to another club. This could be one of those, is my feeling right now, because there's been a lot of interest around this kid. And while, all the noises are good at the moment, this is one I would really want to see done, because I won't believe this particular transfer until it's actually completed.
And if it doesn't go through, then will you be disappointed if it isn't to happen? He's say to move to Palace and they hijack the deal.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen on the videos, I think he seems to be a real talent, and Everton's been missing that sort of player that can go past people. And I'd like to see him in blue, certainly, and let's hope it gets done.
And Keith, I mean, we're going to be, of course, we have to mention Jared Branthwaite and that ongoing deal, given what we've just discussed with Manchester United. Do you feel a bidding war could begin for the young star? And actually, is that potentially what the Friedkin group in the club will be hoping for over the next few weeks, if he is to go?
There's no doubt part of when Friedkin evaluated the club, he looked at the playing side and looked at any assets they had, and Branthwaite would have been shining right there. So I would think, yes, they'll want to keep him there. It's important also, as we've said many times, for Everton this season to stay in the Premier League. And so to try and keep that back central pairing together would be very important to go into that new stadium, with the Premier League position, obviously. So I think that, he's young enough, was he 21? So there could be plenty of seasons ahead when he'll still command a very, very good transfer fee. So I would hope they'll do all they can to keep him. He is a key part of this. And with Pickford performing so well at the Euros, that back situation at Everton looks reasonably settled and strong, and it would be important to keep that going into this next season and hopefully adding some potential excitement further down the pitch.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.